Welcome back to Unpublished Opinions, the podcast where we discuss the legal profession, the judiciary, and all things everyone's thinking, but nobody's filing. I'm Rachel Prince, Executive Director of the Delaware County Bar Association.
And I'm Matt Bilker, President of the Delaware County Bar Association.
And I'm Bob Firkser.
Today's episode is all about one of the most anticipated traditions of the Delaware County Bar's legal community, the Bench Bar Conference.
And whether you're a bench bar veteran with legendary stories or someone who has been saying, I'll just go next year for the last 5 years,
this episode is for you. And
that's because bench bar is more than just CLE credits and networking. It's where relationships are built, friendships are formed, and somehow judges become the funniest people in the room.
It's also one of the few times attorneys voluntarily spend multiple days together without filing motions against one another.
And joining us today is someone who knows bench bar better than just about anyone. The chair of the Delaware County Bench Bar Committee, Robert Bob Firkser.
We're talking first bench bar memories, funny moments over the years, favorite speakers and locations, and why this year's conference at the Borgata Hotel and Casino may be the best one yet.
So whether you're driving to court, avoiding your emails for a half hour, or billing this as professional development,
we're happy you're here. Welcome to Unpublished Opinions. All right, so joining us today is the chair of the Bench Bar Committee, Bob Firkser. Bob, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
So we thought this was a perfect episode at this time, Bob, because there are people who have heard about bench bar for ages, but who haven't attended. And we are right at about T-minus 30 days or so before the conference starts.
Which is crazy. We also have people who attend once and are suddenly bench bar people, and they're registering the second we send out an email.
Which is awesome. It's hard to explain unless you've experienced it, right?
Let's jump into it and start at the beginning. Do you remember your very first bench bar?
I do remember my very first bench bar, and the bench bar conference, the first one ever was 1973, which was a little bit before my time. But I do recall going to the first one I went to at Buck Hill Inn. I was a very, very young lawyer.
Where's Buck Hill?
Poconos.
Poconos, okay.
In the Poconos. And I know that when I arrived, the only person there I knew was a lawyer named Barry Dozer, who later became Judge Dozer. But within 2 hours max, I felt perfectly at home, comfortable, welcomed, learned a lot, and had a very good time.
So, Bob, I think one thing that surprises a lot of first-time attendees is how different bench bar feels from like a typical legal conference, right? You see judges talking with young lawyers. You see opposing counsel, like even family law attorneys sitting together having drinks. They're forming friendships and referrals that last for years, right?
I like to refer to the bench bar conference as a lawyers and judges Woodstock. It is 3 days of seminars and dinners and collegiality and hospitality suite. And frankly, it's an irreplaceable opportunity for lawyers, especially young lawyers, to sit informally over a beer and talk to opposing counsel, talk to judges off the record in a very informal atmosphere. It is not only a good time, but it's an extremely worthwhile time.
Bob, have you ever missed a bench bar since your first one at Buck Hill?
Just a couple when I had no option. You know, maybe things like births of children.
Oh, those children.
Not very good excuses, but.
So can I just share a quick one for this year? My son is being promoted from 8th grade. They call it the 8th grade promotion. And we're the second week of June coming up this year. And that's when a lot of like graduations and promotions are. And his 8th grade promotion ceremony was scheduled for the Wednesday of bench bar, which was a problem. Fortunately, I'm the president of the school board, and all of a sudden that promotion ceremony was shifted up a day. So here we are. We're ready to rock and roll.
I'm glad you have your priorities straight, Matt.
You got to do what you got to do sometimes.
So seriously, funny story. My first bench bar with you guys was in 2023, and it was also the day of my daughter's kindergarten graduation, and I called the principal sobbing, and they also moved it up a day for me, which was very well appreciated.
That's great.
And I've had trials continued because of the bench bar conference. If it's a Delaware County case, that's obviously not a problem because most of the judges are there. If it's like a Chester County case or Montgomery County, that can be an issue, but the judges have been accommodating.
Yeah. So Bob, we want to talk some of the funniest bench bar memories you have. And, without necessarily naming names, unless you're comfortable doing so, or creating ethical problems for Rachel to deal with later. Can you tell us about one of the funniest bench bar memories that comes to mind?
I'll tell you a couple, and I will leave out a couple that are inappropriate to tell. I remember one conference where an attorney, I won't mention his name, but his initials are AD. And at roughly 2, 3 in the morning, he went up to his room. He opened the door, and it was empty. There was nothing there. The only thing in his room was his acoustic guitar that he had brought with him. In other words, the only thing of real value was the only thing that was still there. His luggage, the bed, the TV, the dresser, the chairs, everything else was gone. He foolishly called the front desk and said he'd been robbed. And hotel personnel came up, etc., and they were not happy, but they told him that he hadn't been robbed, he'd been pranked. Shortly thereafter, I was waiting for an elevator to go up to my room. I was standing with another lawyer and a judge. The elevator doors open, and there is his room. The bed in the elevator. The bed, the dresser, the TV, the chair, everything was crammed into that elevator. We obviously had to wait for another elevator. And I just remember the judge. The doors open, he looks, he sees this stuff and says, well, there is precedent for this.
And where was this? Do you remember where location?
That might have been, it wasn't the Poconos. I don't remember whether that was Buck Hill or the Pocono Hershey, but it might have been the somewhat notorious year at Pocono Hershey where a lawyer broke a coffee table and a bed. A couple of lawyers and a judge were on a balcony throwing beer bottles into the pool. The judge had a very good arm. Every bottle went into the water. One lawyer had a very good arm, and every bottle went into the water. In fact, he was a good pitcher. He was a good baseball pitcher. Every bottle went into the water. Unfortunately, the other lawyer didn't, and his bottles were breaking on the concrete around the pool, which is not a good thing. Ultimately, the Pocono Hershey banned the Delaware County Bar Association forever, which kind of made me feel like the Who.
Yeah, I got to tell you, for as much grief as my generation gets for behavior, your generation was pretty naughty, Bob. I've heard some stories, and I'm like, they got a lot of nerve when they come down on us for how we behave.
Well, thank you.
I feel like, though, to be fair, Bob's generation was throwing beer bottles off of the balcony, and from what I've heard, I was not there. Your generation, our generation, was throwing themselves off the balcony.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. A couple of lawyers at Bedford Springs. There was. Do you know that, Bob? There was a in-tide pool that had like multiple levels of what do you call it, balconies or whatever, that would have been second and third decks. And there was a couple of them that were, one of them works in my law firm, jumping off of the balcony into the pool. We didn't get in trouble for that.
See,
You did?
guys were just better at not getting caught.
Yeah, we didn't get in trouble for that. Yeah. We learned
Yeah.
we learned shit. Millennials learned shadiness long ago. You guys were just open and obvious in your disorderly conduct.
I think there was a gap kind of between my generation and your generation, the people in between, who were frankly often a little too staid. But Matt, I thank you guys for picking that up.
You got it. Anything I can do to help.
Is there anything else that comes to mind when you think funniest bench bar?
Not that I can say while being recorded.
You heard that from Bob. It's a fun time. It's a fun time. Okay, so before we keep going, I do want to take 1 minute to give a shout out to our sponsor. We have two for this podcast. First one is First Resource Bank, a great partner of the DCBA and a reason that we can continue our annual Bench Bar Conference and bring you this podcast. Thank you so much for supporting the Delaware County Bar Association. They are a community-focused financial institution dedicated to providing personalized banking solutions for businesses, professionals, and individuals throughout our region. From business banking and lending to personal financial services, their team is known for building real relationships and always being willing to help. They are also the DCBA's trusted daily banking partner, and they handle all of our day-to-day banking when it comes to our checks. And we truly appreciate their reliability, responsiveness, and support behind the scenes that helps keep our organization running smoothly. So thank you, First Resource Bank. Next, we're going to talk, not boring, but, the more down to business stuff, your best and most favorite speakers and CLEs that may have ever been put on.
There have been a number of excellent speakers and CLEs. Two that stand out in my mind were Pennsylvania Supreme Court Justice Brobson. He was excellent. Mm-hmm. Everybody loved it. It was great to hear from a Pennsylvania Supreme Court justice in this, again, informal but very educational setting. And it was great to hang out with him in the hospitality suite afterwards.
Yes, I remember he likes he likes to drink old fashions. I remember that.
He was a very nice guy, brilliant guy, and his talk was just incredible.
Funny story, Bob. Guess who is going to be our August podcast guest?
Justice Brobson?
He is. He just for some reason agreed to come on here with Matt and I. So that's
you're one of his opening acts.
That's great. That's great. I did not know that. There was another speaker. This is probably around, give or take, 2010. He was a member of the Washington Press Corps and had covered presidents and been on Air Force One, et cetera, with every president from Reagan through Obama. And I found him just fascinating. He was very informative, a lot of sort of inside information. And not only did I find him very, very interesting, but one of the things that I really liked was at the end of his talk, at the end of his presentation, I had not the slightest idea whether he was a Republican or Democrat or conservative or liberal, which I thought was great, especially for a member of the press. You don't necessarily see that these days. But I remember especially Justice Brobson and him as great speakers. There have been amazing CLEs. I especially, if you do civil litigation, I especially like Dale Larimore, who presents annually. One of the most worthwhile programs I've ever seen is his annual presentation at the bench bar. It alone is worth the price of admission.
He'll be back again this year, Bob.
I know.
Yeah, he's terrific.
And the time and effort and expertise that lawyers and judges contribute to presenting these programs is phenomenal, and they are very worthwhile.
Do you know who I liked? I liked Donnie Brasco.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really fun one, and he has a line that I still use. You have to get the bleep button ready, Rachel. He has a line when he was undercover. He was at a party, and he was talking with some people, and this guy kept interrupting him. And he looked at the guy and he says, "Why do your sentences keep starting in the middle of my sentences?" I love dropping that when somebody interrupts me more than once. I've done it. I've done that in a court setting, not necessarily like before a jury, without the expletives, because it is sort of a funny thing to say. Why do your sentences keep starting in the middle of my sentences? So you can get away with that.
If budget wasn't an issue, so it is an issue. So, but let's pretend it wasn't. Who would you ask to be our next bench bar speaker? Like anyone you want.
Well, let's exclude United States Supreme Court justices or things of that nature. I mean, obviously that would be great, and we tried that before, without being able to firm it up or get it done. If you're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, that's a good question, Rachel. I've never thought about that. I know that for 1 year now, I'm going to reveal what a nerd I am.
We already know.
1 year, I contacted Will Shortz. Neither of you know, I'm sure, who Will Shortz is. He is the editor of the New York Times Sunday Crossword Puzzle.
The crossword puzzle guy, right? Yeah.
Yes. And he's on like Weekend Edition with word games every weekend. And he went to, I think it was Yale, majored in games. He's a fascinating speaker. I didn't know
that was a major.
I think he created his own major, and it was games. And he is like the...
My parents would have loved if I got that degree. They would have been thrilled.
Especially from Yale.
And look, let's face it, lawyers live by words.
Yeah.
So it would have been quite apropos. But his fee was beyond our reach.
Yeah.
If we could have paid that, that would have been cool. But he was beyond what we could afford. Scott Turo's a very good speaker, and he would be appropriate for the bench bar conference. But again, I think that's a little too expensive. I would love to see a Martin Scorsese or a Stanley
go out to LA.
Yeah, or a Stanley Kubrick, who's no longer alive. But geez, if I could pick anybody, it'd be like probably one of those guys.
What about you, Matt?
If I'm keeping it to like a true legal,
do both. Do true legal and then like pure entertainment.
I would really, I mean, to double down on what Bob said, I would love to see United States Supreme Court justice. And I don't like, I know it hasn't happened yet, but I don't think it's outside of the realm of happening. Like, I think especially if we did one in the DC area, or again, we've done Annapolis in the past, which is close. I think if it's an easier trip for them to make from DC, I think that when it comes to like procuring the financing, like obviously you wouldn't be able to pay $50,000 for a speaker, but like we have some great groups that support the Bar Association, and like if for something like really special like that, where you might be able to get a Supreme Court justice in with our little Bar Association, I would love to see that, and I think that we could make it happen in the long term.
The issue when we've tried in the past to get us a U.S. Supreme Court justice, the issue is not money. I frankly don't remember whether or how much they charge.
Mm-hmm.
They may not charge. I don't know. It was more just scheduling and their schedule.
Safety. And safety. I think safety came into play at one point.
Yeah.
So comfortable coming.
As far as any type of speaker whatsoever, obviously that's broad. I got to tell you, I'm excited for Jefferson. I'm
That's
excited
going to
for
be
the
awesome.
Jefferson impersonator. I think our members are really gonna have fun with that one, and it's an ethics credit, and that's great. I can find joy in anything, right? A historian, I can find joy in some kind of a sportscaster, politicians, journalists. I'm easy. So I think that I think doing the keynotes is important. I like when we have like featuring this year segment for the bench bar conference. I really do enjoy that.
I think it makes it fun too because first of all, if you haven't seen, Jefferson filmed a commercial for us, which we'll play it here so you can see it.
Good day. I am Thomas Jefferson. Pennsylvania's Delaware County Bar Association will be hosting its annual Bench Bar Conference between June 10th and 12th in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And I will be delivering the keynote address during the plenary session on June 10th. I will focus my remarks on the constitutional crisis of 1800, when, during the election that ultimately elected me as President of the United States, the Constitution of the United States nearly fell before it had a chance to stand on its own merits. I will examine this emergency through comparisons and contrasts with ancient republics like the Athenian democracy, the Roman Republic, and our short-lived sister republic, the French Republic. In examining these three contrasting republics, I will share how they failed essentially for the same reason, and how we forged a new path during that crisis of 1800 that gave the world a new example, an example that will allow governments by the people to avoid failing with the same mistakes that history has shown us. I will tell this story through contemporaries of mine and my relationships with them, men such as Alexander Hamilton, John Adams, and Aaron Burr. In essence, what we did was learn how to identify those who disagree with us fundamentally, but who are in good faith, and to join them in negotiated consensus in order to stop those who are in bad faith from undermining the very Constitution and the rule of law over the wills and whimsy of fallible men. I look forward to seeing you there.
It was awesome. And after that email went out to our membership, we actually got 6 registrants within a half an hour. So apparently we just need Thomas Jefferson asking people to register for Bench Bar because that made people happy. I even got text. I think, Matt, you were on that text, like mentioning how great it was, and a Hamilton reference was referenced, the play, I guess.
I am really having seen him before, which I'd seen him at a different conference. I looked around the room and watched 200 or so lawyers who were in this Sealy at 8:30 in the morning, just glowing. Like, they liked it. I think our people are going to like it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think so too.
I agree. I think he will be great.
It'll also really tie into our America 250 theme. Don't forget to wear your red, white, and blue on Thursday night. And we have lots of fun stuff to hand out in case you forget.
Red, white, and blue, or will we welcome colonial outfits as well? I
am Betsy Ross. You will see me dressed in my Betsy Ross at registration.
I remember years ago in Williamsburg, I got into a debate with the reenactor who, first of all, the guy would not budge. It was 1770, and he would not budge from that. I asked him what he did for a living in his, regular job. He says, "What are you talking about? I'm a, blacksmith or whatever here in Williamsburg." I ended up in a debate with him over whether or not the colonies should seek independence from England. And it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I was arguing with the textbook, but I think I held my own. And they will not leave character, which is great.
And it's sort of hard for you, isn't it? Because you kind of got to go for it, because this is not really this person. But you can't be like, "Look, bud, like, jig aside, I do want to ask you these questions." Like, you got to participate like you're talking to them.
Yeah.
So you brought up Williamsburg. I don't know if that's where a bench bar conference was or where your family was traveling to, but bench bar
I
has
don't
had
think the bench bar has ever been in Williamsburg.
Yeah.
That was a family thing.
There's been some great locations the bench bar conference has been at over the past couple of years. Do you have like a favorite?
I like a location where if there are lawyers and judges and CLEs and a hospitality suite, I like it. I may be in the minority. I don't care whether it's on the water, in the mountains, whatever. As long as it has those 4 characteristics, it's a great location for me. I also, just personally, tend to prefer the places where we're on a contained campus. There's kind of forced camaraderie. I prefer them to the places where people can wander off elsewhere off campus. That's fine, but I think it tends to take away from the camaraderie aspect of it. Just again, for my preferences. Annapolis is great, Chesapeake's great, the Poconos are still great. I like Skytop, and I know there are a lot of young lawyers who like Skytop. The times we've had it in Annapolis is great. A few times on the Chesapeake. They're all good by me as long as they have those factors.
What about you, Matt? What was your favorite location?
That's funny. I don't know if I've really thought about it. So I've said this before. I have fun wherever I go. And the reason for that is because I'm fun. So I'm going to have fun. The first one I ever went to was the Hyatt in the Chesapeake, and I loved it. It's a beautiful hotel. It is on the water. I do like being on the water, but you know what? I've had great times at Skytop. I always enjoy. There is something about Skytop that it's tranquil. It is peaceful. It is, as Bob said, contained, which I like as well. I've had. I think like one of the things that I appreciate is like not too far away. I don't want to spend 4 hours driving to get to it and then drive another 4 hours the next day. So the year at Bedford, I really liked the Bedford Springs Resort. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that conference, but it was like a 3.5 hour drive. And I think I had traffic on the way home, and it's just a day killer. So a variable that I don't like, but I do like, I think the place that you pick matters. And I think we've picked good places over the years because you do want to get out at, like, if you're doing this, right? Like, as Bob's used the word camaraderie a couple different times, like you can get CLEs all year, right? But you can't get camaraderie all year. And I think Carrie Woody, when she was on a couple of weeks ago, commented on, like, especially for solo practitioners or really small firms, like the Bar Association can become your firm in many ways, where you're conversing with other lawyers about this case or that case, or telling war stories or whatever it is. And I think that's a really important part of the Bench Bar Conference, and one that people get hooked on when they've gone to those. I mean, I know Bob and I, in many over the years, are some of the last ones up at the end of the night, whether it's around a campfire at Skytop or a fire pit, and we're just shooting the breeze about work or life or family or whatever it is. Like, those are my favorite bench.
And I'm proud of that, Matt, because I'm so much older than you.
Yeah, you are much older than me.
So with camaraderie being thrown around a lot, I'm actually pretty sure there's been marriages that came out of Bench Bar.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Like people met at Bench Bar and literally are together with kids and a family, and they're married because of Bench Bar.
I can think of 2 lawyers that came up to me, thanked me, and said, "We met at one of the bench bars that you were chairing, and now we're married." Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about, perhaps among others.
Dan and Gabby definitely met at a Bench Bar.
Yeah,
her
two beautiful kids.
Yep, it's nice. It's a nice little starting point.
Come to Bench Bar. You may find
perhaps
you may find your future spouse.
Perhaps the love of your life is just in the next CLE.
Right. If you don't need CLEs, you may find a spouse. Who knows? So right now, I'm going to take just another minute to shout out to our second sponsor, Ember IT. They are our trusted IT company, and they provide managed IT services, cybersecurity solutions, cloud support, and technology consulting. quite honestly, they deserve all the praise because they deal with me and the rest of the DCBA staff daily because we are not the most tech savvy people in the world. And they somehow keep us up and running with patience, professionalism, and either a sense of humor or they're laughing at us. I'm not sure. But either way, they're very nice. So it's fine. And we truly appreciate their partnership and continued support of the DCBA and our mission to connect, educate, and engage the legal community. Thank you, Ember IT, for helping us bring these conversations to life. Bob? If someone has never attended Bench Bar before, why should they this year decide to pull the trigger and finally go?
Well, first of all, they should pull the trigger and go any year for the reasons we've already mentioned. The education, the camaraderie, the informality, the opportunity to speak with lawyers and judges, etc. This year especially, they should go. It's at Borgata. It's not a long hike. It's very close. I don't know that they're going to have many other opportunities to meet Thomas Jefferson. It will be a great time. The program is looking great. They will learn stuff. They will meet lawyers and judges, and they will have a good time. And you can't beat that. I think the reasons to go to the Bench Bar conference are quite obvious. But nonetheless, there are people who won't go. And I don't like them to feel bad. So I
don't mind.
I've done this before, but I'm going to give I used to have the top 5 reasons not to go, so they don't feel so bad. But now I think it's going to be the top 6 reasons not to go to the Bench Bar conference after this conversation today. The number 6 reason is I don't want to potentially meet my future spouse. The number 5 reason is I don't want essentially all of my annual CLE credits in some nice resort for just about the same price I would pay if I went to all those separate seminars throughout the year.
Plus, you get food, like multiple meals and free drinks.
And the number 4 reason not to go to the Bench Bar conference is I don't like golf or hiking or beaches or food or drink. The number 3 reason not to go to the Bench Bar conference is I don't want any of the judges to know who I am, and I only want them to see me when I walk into their courtroom. The number 2 reason is I don't want any of the lawyers to know who I am, and I only want to see them when I walk into the courtroom against them. And the number 1 reason not to attend the Bench Bar conference is this isn't a profession, it's just a job. I don't need to go to such things.
I like that, Bob. That was cute.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was good.
And to your point, and this is something that I've sort of learned over the years, but more so this year as I've started to through the presidency and started to develop relationships with lawyers from other bar associations. The DCBA is unique in how involved and engaged our bench is. I mean, I don't know if every single Delaware County judge is coming to Bench Bar, but most of them do. And
most of them do, and I think 1 or 2 have to stay here in case of emergencies.
And to that point, that's not the case for a lot of bar associations throughout Pennsylvania. It's a blessing if you practice law in Delaware County. It's really the relationships with the bench are important, right? Like no judge is going to say, "Oh, I met Bob Firkser or Matt Bilker at Bench Bar, so I'm ruling in their favor." But man, it is important to have relationships with them for whatever, maybe you need a continuance, and it's the difference between trusting the lawyer asking you for it or not, right? I'm not a judge. I don't know what they take into account, but it can't hurt.
Oh, I mean, let's face it, judges know whether you have credibility or not.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that doesn't mean they're going to rule in your favor. But if it's something like a continuance or something, and they know, I know Bilker's not going to ask for this if he really doesn't need it, that could factor in.
Well, and aside from just the Delaware County Court of Common Pleas judges, you have Judge Chad Kenney coming from the Eastern District. You have our district attorney, Tanner Rouse, is going to be there. So you're meeting a lot of people.
It's a good guest list.
I gotta say, Judge Kenney has been the most active and involved federal judge in the Delaware County Bar Association. And that's very cool.
We in many ways like that. We're really lucky for that. Like it's not just a bench bar. He does the federal CLEs that he brings down. And if you have a federal practice, again, that matters. It really does.
Did a podcast.
Yeah.
And he did our podcast.
Yeah.
That's right. So, and as you say, like it's not just judges. Like the connections you make at bench bar are real connections. There's referrals that happen there, mentorships happen, friendships happen. I mean, I'm at Eccles Sparks because Judge Capuzzi struck up a conversation with my boss / partner, Len Sloan, at Skytop in the summer of 2014. And Len said, I'm looking for work. And a couple months later, I was working here. And the rest is history. Such history as it is. There are real things, good career moves that can happen there.
Also, Matt is probably going to be dressed as Ben Franklin.
Well, that's to be discussed, Betsy.
I'm definitely showing up like Betsy Ross because I have no shame. I'll bring a costume of Ben Franklin for you.
All right.
We'll see if we can convince you.
We'll see.
Bob, thank you so much for joining us today and for everything you do for the Bench Bar Conference and the Delaware County legal community.
We're looking forward to another great year at Bench Bar. Bob does a great job as chair. His committee is awesome. It's filled with lawyers who work hard to support putting on this great program. It is sort of like a who's who committee of people who are just so passionately involved in bar association activities. And I think this year's conference will be no exception. I think it's going to be a terrific one.
I'm saying it's a great committee because unlike some committees, when somebody says, all right, I'll do that, they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a committee that works literally all year long on this conference. Like we've already started working on next year's conference before this conference has even concluded. So they put a lot of work and effort into making it go well and be fun and also provide great programs.
Right.
So to everyone listening, if you haven't registered yet.
Yeah, there's still time, especially if you haven't done it before. There are so many opportunities, so many reasons to do it. The only reason not to is if you're worried you can't control your consumption, because that could set your career back. But other than that, the sky's the limit. It's a great conference and a good career move.
Absolutely.
This has been Unpublished Opinions.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you at Bench Bar.